places that were like way below my standard. And oh, I also live by a hospital, so I'm safe if I get sick, but hospital sounds, ambulance sounds. Hey there, I'm Elise and welcome back to my channel. So it's been a while since I made a YouTube video, but I'm not out of the game by any means. So I've been studying for the GMAT exam and the TOPIK exam at the same time, and I just didn't really have a lot of time to dedicate to YouTube videos, but I'm back. So when I made my last video talking about how to find housing in Korea, I thought that was going to be the last time I had anything to say on the subject. But recently my roommate and I just got our own apartments in Seoul, and the experience was very eye-opening to say the least. So I think I'm gonna have a few more videos on this subject, and I hope that sharing our experiences helps people to stay safe when it comes to house hunting. But before I get into it, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter and hit that subscribe button for more advice, stories, and peeks into my real life in Korea. So this is my first storytime video, and I guess this is the point where I'm supposed to tell you to grab yourself a cup of tea because I'm gonna spill some tea. But I'm drinking toreta, so you do what you feel. So I recently moved back to Seoul. I was living in Busan for a year, hated it, but now I'm back. And this time I decided to do the whole house hunting thing on my own. I felt pretty confident in my Korean skills and my knowledge of the house hunting process, so flew solo. I did everything that I recommended to you guys in my past videos. I checked Jikbang, I contacted the agents, set up viewings, and everything seemed on the up and up. Of course, when it came time to see the places that I said I was interested in, they were unfortunately unavailable, surprise surprise. So I asked to see some other places that were in my budget and in the areas that I said I wanted to live in. So we go to the first place, we being me and the realty agent, and it was disgraceful. It was small, the windows were covered with some kind of stickers so you couldn't even look out the windows. It was surrounded by bars, which means no sleep on the weekends. And it was like, it smelled like sweat and like damp mold, I don't even know. So then I open up the closet and there's like pieces of massage chairs in the closet. So I guess somebody was running a massage business out of this place. And I stayed in there a whole maybe 2 minutes, and then I just walked out and I told the realty agent, like, show me something else. I'm pretty sure that he was hoping that I would just be like, oh, this is what you have? This is what you have. Okay, yes. So the vibe that I was already starting to get from this realty agent is that he was going to show me places that were way below my standard, but I just tried to show from the beginning, like, hey, I'm not here for that. Show me what I want to see. Show me something up to the standard of what I want to see, or I'm gonna just end this appointment before we've even seen whatever else you have to show me. So we go to the second place, which is the place that I had said I was interested in the first place. Suspicious, because he had just told me that there were no places available in this building. But suddenly, magically, one of them opened up. So we see this room, and of course it's everything that I wanted in the room. It's a loft, so it was 2 stories. Everything in there was new. It had double security doors, everything. But it was out of my price range. The thing about Korea is, even if there are like maybe 50 rooms in one building that are all exactly the same, because they have different owners, they could all be 50 different prices. The owners are free to change the price however they want. And so the one that I said I wanted was no longer available. The same room was available, but I just couldn't afford it. So I had to say no. Thirsty. Not sponsored, but I could be. Anyway, so then we go to the third place, and on the way there, this realtor starts to like pressure me. I don't know. He was telling me like, oh, you know, it's the weekend, so if you don't like any of the places I'm showing you, you're not going to be able to go anywhere else because there's no other realtor open there's no other realtor open on the weekend. And oh, just so you know, like, it was my day off, but since you asked me to be here, I went out of my way to come meet you. And I was like, sir, Like, I don't know why he was trying to guilt trip me, but I was fully prepared to go back home without a contract if he couldn't show me something that I wanted to see. So anyway, we get to the third place and I'm into it. It's big, it has all of the options that I said I wanted, aka amenities. Shout out to the person who told me the English for that. What else? It has a gym in the basement that I can use for free, a CU, there are a lot of grocery stores in the area and also a hospital down the street, so yeah, it's really nice. But just for good measure, because this realty agent has been, so, stellar so far, he decided to take me to one more place and it was trash. It was smaller. It was in a very strange part of the neighborhood. It was across the hall from an escort service. And you might ask, Elise, how did you know that the neighbor is an escort? Well, they had a sign on the outside of their door advertising their escort services. So yeah, I just didn't feel that great about it. So I decided to go with the third place. So we're driving back to the realty office, and I guess at this point the realtor had finally realized that my Korean was good, so he decided that he was going to start trying to ask for my number, which, so professional. So he starts asking me if I've ever had a Korean boyfriend and if I wanted a Korean boyfriend, and I was just like, sir, I'm a student, I'm very busy, I don't really have time for a relationship. And he was just like, oh, are you sure? Like, don't you think you're gonna get lonely? And I was just like, oh, no, I will not get lonely. Don't even worry about me. And fortunately, I had my friend in the back seat of the car, so I wasn't alone in this man's car, but what? So from that point on, I just pretty much talked to my friend and just ignored him unless he had anything to say that had to do with my apartment. If it had to do with the apartment, I'm all about this conversation, but anything else, sir? Oh, sorry, no. Sorry, I suddenly don't speak Korean anymore. How did that happen? Weird. Thirsty work. Alright, so we're in the realty office and I'm ready to sign the contract. But there's a problem. So there was already someone living in the room that I wanted, and when I went to see it, he wasn't there. Usually the person is there to let you in, but this guy was out and just gave us the key to get in and see the place. And this is pretty normal. Korea is all about like fast turnovers, so somebody might give like a month's notice that they're gonna move out, and the realtor will just start showing the place for that month until they get out, hoping that somebody will move in immediately. And this was the case with my previous apartment too, so I had no reason to care about this, except that we couldn't make the contract because we couldn't write a date on it that I was going to move in. So instead, what we did do was sign an agreement that I was going to sign the contract once the date was agreed upon. And I had left him, the realtor, with some dates that I preferred and some dates that were definitely not going to work because I couldn't get here. So then he calls me not even an hour later, and the guy mysteriously called back after we've been trying to call him all day and he hasn't been answering the phone, but then I leave and he calls back. He calls back and he says that he can't move out by the time I want to move in. He needs 2 more weeks. But I didn't have 2 more weeks, and so I was just like, what are we gonna do? And so he, calls me back later and he says, hey, that room's not available when you need it, but we have another room that will be available when you need it. It's exactly the same, it's just on a different floor. So I was still in the area and I was like, hey, cool, I'll come back and I'll see the place. And he was like, oh, no, you don't have to come back and see it, it's okay. I'll go there and I'll just snap some photos for you and send you some photos. And so, that was a little bit weird, I guess, but I guess he was just trying to save me some time, so I'll take the photo, sure. So then, another hour later or so, he sends me some photos of the room, and I can see that it's the same, but there's some photos, missing. So there was no photo of the bathroom, which was weird, and he had taken a picture of the whole room across the room, but he hadn't taken any, different angles of the room. And so I was like, hey, can you show me a picture of the bathroom? And he was like, oh, well, I'm not there anymore. I forgot to take a picture of the bathroom, but don't worry about it. It's exactly the same. And so I was like, weird. So then he calls me back later and he says, oh, hey, there's some furniture in this room. I know the room you saw didn't have furniture in it, so I wanted to check, like, do you want the furniture? And I personally did not. There are people who definitely would want that furniture, but I wanted to decorate my own place, and I especially did not want any bed because I don't like to sleep on beds that I don't know like what the history of the bed is. So I was like, no, please take out the furniture. I'll get my own, thank you. So he was like, oh yeah, cool, we'll take the furniture out. Don't worry about it. But you know, I just had some weird vibes from this realtor for the whole time, and I was like, something is not right. Something is not right. So I made sure to tell him like, hey, I know you said the room is exactly the same, but I'm not gonna sign any contract until I have physically seen the room. So on the day that I have set up to come move in, like, let's go see the room first, and then if everything's cool, then I'll sign the contract. So he was like, oh yeah, it makes sense, for sure. Okay, now fast forward 3 weeks. And I'm ready to move into my new place. I brought all my stuff. I brought my friend to help me move in. All I have to do is go see the place that is exactly the same and sign the contract. So we get up to this room and it's not the same. Oh, surprise. So if you go purely based on floor plan, then yes, this room is exactly the same. It's got the same layout, the same, you know, like kitchen, bedroom area, same. But apparently the room that I saw had been updated, and this room has not. So I still have the original wallpaper from 2004, which you can see behind me is horrendous. The other walls are like a beige color wallpaper, but they have holes in them that I'm gonna have to fill in or cover up with something. Like, there's just a bunch of weird stuff in here that is not quite right, and definitely not the same as what I saw. The room was disgusting. Like, there were little explosive stains. I mean, they're not stains, I got them off. But like, just explosive all over the bathroom, toilet, everywhere, hair everywhere. There were like dead roaches in the kitchen cabinets, and oh my god. So I was already upset with that, but on top of that, all the furniture that I said I didn't want was still in this room. So I look at this guy and I'm just like, you said it was exactly the same, dude, like, what is this? And he was just like, oh, well, this is the furniture that this owner provides, and like the other room, the owner didn't provide this furniture, but this one does, so it has to stay in the room. And I was just like, okay, cool, but you called me. You called me just to ask me about the furniture. I told you I didn't want it, and you said you would take it out, but yet, here's all this furniture still. So he tells me that he's not sure if it can be taken out, but that we're gonna go talk to the manager. And I was just like, cool, let's go talk to the manager. I would also like to do that. So then we go down to the realtor office. Turns out that this guy that I've been dealing with all this time is not the realtor. He's just the person who shows the room, you know? He works for the realtor and takes people around, but he's not qualified to manage any contract signing. That has to be done with the head of the office. So we go to that guy and he starts explaining that I'm upset with the room because the furniture is in there. And so then the head manager starts getting angry. But is he angry at me? No. He's angry at his foot soldier for not explaining to me what the room was going to look like and for not explaining the situation with the furniture. So this guy's getting like laid into, like he's getting yelled at as he deserved. But then, you know, one day he was like, hey girl, I want your number, you're pretty. And then another, like, then he was getting yelled at, and now he's like, oh well, it's not my fault, it's her fault. Her Korean is not good, and so she didn't understand me. I'm just like, what? You gave me a specific phone call, sir, to talk about the furniture. How could I mess that up? Do you want furniture? No. Anyway, so we just, dismiss this guy, and I start talking to just the manager. And he tells me, like, we can take out the bed, but the rest of the furniture has to stay. And when I thought about it, the rest of the furniture pretty much matched. The bed just didn't match at all, like the color of the wood. And also, I just didn't want the bed. So I agreed to it, like, we could compromise. I'm not gonna, give up the place. So we got that straightened out, and I signed the contract. So you might wonder, like, why did I sign the contract even though things were, like, not what I was expecting? And after, thinking about it a little bit, there's really nothing wrong with the room. The layout is good, the location is good. It's just not exactly what I thought it was gonna be, but it's not unfixable. I think once all the stuff is done and fixed, by fixed, I really just mean this wallpaper, like, that's the worst part of the room. But once everything is the way I want it, I think that I won't have any problem with this room. So it was just like a hit that I was willing to take. I think once it's all done, I'm gonna do a room tour. What I don't like about a lot of room tours currently on YouTube is that they don't tell you where they bought their stuff. So I'm gonna make sure that I tell you guys where I got all my stuff, and also the interior stores that I recommend you check out. So make sure that you check out that next video. The next video. If you are paying attention to the title of this video and also to the intro that I gave, this is just one of 2 stories of how realty agents tried to pull a fast one on me and my previous roommate from Busan. So tune in for part 2. I just hate making super long videos, and I feel like this one might get too long if I try to tell a second story, but I really recommend that you check that one out because that one has a lot of insightful moments too. Of course, if you have any questions about the things that happened to me during this experience or my past experience getting an apartment, leave a comment down below or message me on Instagram or Twitter. As always, thanks for watching. Bye! 다음에 봐요. Did I do a good job with that story? Hope so. I've been in here with no AC because the AC makes too much noise.